Red Skull has gone from like this really just bad character back in the day to this, in my opinion, must-have champion. So before I get started here, these Battlegrounds fights are from last season, which is crazy because it's not even like 2 weeks old, this gameplay. But yeah, he was a menace in that meta, and like the damage output that he could do was honestly just a bit absurd. Like this rank 3 long shot down in 30 seconds, it is some wild stuff, right? And of course in regular metas he's not going to be this crazy because of course not. Arms Race was a whole different kind of demon, but he is still a very good champion in most metas, especially because he is one of the best and one of the safest domino counters in the game. And that's really what sold me on this champion, because one, he can do domino really well, and I swear, like I am not even lying, I think that every single Celestial 5 roster that isn't me has a rank 3 domino. It is insane, and like you want as many counters to her as possible, because if you don't, she's just gonna mess you up big time. And Red Skull is one of the safest options for her. Additionally, what sells me on this champion over most other tech characters is that he is also a great defender. And not just a great defender, he is one of the best tech defenders in the game, especially because the tech defender like pool isn't really there these days. Like for example, you have Future Ant-Man, you have yeah, Future Ant-Man, like, that's all you really have. You have like a few other ones though, but the biggest thing about Red Skull that like pushes him over Future Ant-Man defensively, in my opinion, is the fact that Red Skull can be a 7-star character, and once he's like rank 3, he's going to be an absolute menace to deal with. And you know, this is just a rank 5 Red Skull, right? But he's still doing incredible in this Battlegrounds part of the video. So yeah, he's really gone from just like, because back when he was, you know, pre-buff, he wasn't talked about at all, and if anything he was just a meme because he was just so comically bad and his damage output was so abysmal, and it was like, dang man, this dude needs some help. And then right here, the buff is now live, or it's been live for a long time, but now this just feels like a really proper tech character. Since he has a lot of good tech tropes, he has access to power drain, his ability accuracy cannot be reduced, he also has access to shock, which is pretty common as well. But here's the main thing about Red Skull, he is a defender, and with his buff he got some great defensive abilities. For example, the opponent's stun ability accuracy can be reduced up to 70%, so yeah, you're not going to stun this guy ever. Additionally, on his SP1 he has an auto block, which if Red Skull does block you, you are done for, because he inflicts a massive burst of direct damage to you, and he also drains your power. Now on the SP2 he gets this pretty massive unstoppable, so it's like this guy is really tough to fight against, and that's why he is such a great Battlegrounds character. So now we have just some regular fights here. This first one is a perfect damage test for Red Skull, and we've talked a lot about his abilities, but his damage output and his rotation, very simple stuff. Just get to the SP2, drop the SP2, then start using your SP1s to pause the shocks, and while you drop the SP1, you do some bonus energy damage on each hit. So it's like, yeah, he is not too complex to deal with, or like, not deal with, but he is not too complex to play on attack. And the damage output, like I said, it is just kind of serviceable, right? It's not like super overpowered, but then again, tech champions aren't known to be like crazy damage dealers, right? Like think of the best tech characters in the game. Shuri, for example, her damage output is okay, it's just like fine. Nimrod, that's a whole different saga, because you know how he compares to like rank 3 dominoes. He isn't a fast champion anymore, especially in those fights. Like he is around that area, Red Skull that is. He is just like a fine damage dealer with a ton of utility, and the defensive value really does sell this champion for me. But yeah, this fight is still going well. Like, he is pretty straightforward to play, and he's honestly very practical as well, since you don't have to bait too many special attacks, given that you will constantly power drain the opponent. So yeah, he is just great when it comes to practicality too. He pretty much does have every box checked except for like super overpowered damage output, but that's fine given like everything else, you know? But yeah, here we go for an SP2, and the shock damage is pretty good. Now it's just time to drop the SP1, which we do right here, and this fight is now over. So not too shabby at all. It was like 1minute and 38 seconds for a golem fight, which isn't that bad for a rank 5 unascended character. Now we have this Wolverine Weapon X, and this one is pretty straightforward. I wanted to highlight his heal block with this fight, but this is where some of the problems start to show for Red Skull, because Wolverine Weapon X is unblockable throughout the whole fight essentially, and Red Skull has his heal block on his heavy attack. Now besides this one singular fight, it really isn't an issue, but when you're trying to counter like a mutant champion, I think you should be equipped to counter everything about that mutant champion, and with Weapon X here, Red Skull just does not counter the unblockable part, so it's like, he is a good counter, but he is just missing one thing to be a great counter, if that makes sense. But he still does this fight very well, like very straightforward. Here I drop the heavy attack, and yeah, perfect. So yeah, he's out of Berserk, so this fight is pretty much a nothing burger now. He will go back into it though eventually, so that is one thing to look out for, but yeah, as it stands right now, this is just fine. But like I was saying, he does counter most mutant characters very well, but the best one is by far Domino. He is perfect for that fight. He cannot have his ability accuracy reduced, he has perfect blocks, and I mean, for Domino, it's like just the first line that's important, right? Just like the first part. But he just, I don't know, he feels like extra special versus Domino. And you know, he doesn't counter like other meta mutant defenders like Onslaught and Dust, for example, but also Bishop. So he's not like, he's not a mutant destroyer like Nimrod is. But then again, Nimrod can't take those fights either, so it's like, hey, it doesn't really matter, right? But yeah, this fight is still going very well. Here he drops the SP1, no big deal, and we are just chipping him down. The heal block we can't get up just yet, unfortunately, because, you know, he is unblockable, but now he is blockable, so that's perfect. And this matchup is about to be over. After I go for a combo into the SP1, pause the shocks yet again, and I'm just... There I missed completely. That was, yeah, his heavy reach isn't all that, but it's okay because he has other things to make up for it. But I bet you're wondering now, if he doesn't counter like Onslaught and Dust, then like, why is he even that good of a champion in your eyes? Well, of course I said it before, but it's the defensive value that makes him such a powerful dual threat. But not only that, he can also take fights like Killmonger, for example. He can take future Ant-Man. He can take most meta defenders that aren't shock immune. It's the shock immunity that like really hinders him, but if they're not shock immune, he can probably do very, very good against that fight, which is what I like about this champion. And yeah, but the big thing is he counters Domino, and that's just like, if you counter Domino, you're in the deck 100%. If you offer other things besides that, even better. But the big thing is that you counter Domino, for me at least, because she is by far the most common defender in the game. Like, no one else is placed as much as Domino is, and she is rank 3 now. Literally everyone has a rank 3. It's just, it's so frustrating, but Red Skull makes it a bit less frustrating. So yeah, there is that. Then here I drop the SP1, and speaking of Domino, she's already down. That was a sub 1 minute gauntlet fight. You'll love to see it. But now we have this Apocalypse fight, and this one is a slow burner because look at this health pool. It is very insane. However, it's also a very safe fight, and this is what I like about Red Skull. I like how safe he is as a character, since you stack up to 10 armors, and once those armors are stacked up, you want to know what happens? You just don't take damage. And it's really, really nice because, you know, in Battlegrounds especially, when your fight time isn't like super high up like the nuke characters are, what do you have to rely on? It's a full yellow bar finish. And who's going to do that? Red Skull is. So it's like, there we go, man. That's what you want to see for a good tech character. You want to see safe fight times. And he is just, you know, equipped to do that because he just does not take damage, I feel like. So yeah, that's honestly pretty sweet too. And yeah, this Mcoc, you don't see Mcoc too much in Battlegrounds anymore for obvious reasons. I made a whole video about it actually, but he's still very annoying to deal with. And I personally have not like mastered his SP1 decks yet, so this is where Red Skull like really does save me, since he just takes no damage from it. So yeah, he's just a safe champion like that too, and I've been selling this character throughout the whole entire video, and I will admit that he is a flawed champion, like I said, with like the heal block thing, the heavy range and all that, plus not countering any like really meta mutant characters besides Domino. He, of course, isn't like a perfect tech champion, right? But literally none of them are. For example, Ghost can't take Onslaught. She can't take Domino perfectly. Future Ant-Man is always a kind of 50-50 fight versus Onslaught, for example, and also kind of 50-50 versus Domino, given that he isn't equipped, or like he isn't built to counter those completely. Who else is like a top tier tech character? Sure, he can't take Onslaught or Dust, just like Red Skull can. See, like, no tech character is perfect, right? And that could be a tech champion issue, that could just be like a class issue, but Red Skull just fits right into that top tech spectrum, because not only does he counter like a certain set of mutant characters, he also is equipped to be a really strong defender, and most top tier tech characters just do not play that role well at all. So it's like, yeah, I recognize this guy as a top tier tech character, I just do, and I love how he went from like this meme to just this really good champion overall that you will see in essentially every single Battlegrounds deck now. But now we have some extra fights here, because I just want to show that like Red Skull can of course be good for regular tech paths. He is just a when it comes to utility, he is a bit of a standard tech character. He has the armor up, he has the power drain, he has, you know, the shocks as well. It's very common tech things, right? However, of course he does branch out a bit, since he is a newer tech character because he was buffed. And so he's a bit more complex than like the other tech characters from like older times, for example. Actually, no, I don't want to say that, because there are some old tech characters that are still really strong, and I'm going to cover them sooner than later. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, because I cannot wait to cover some of those characters. They're not going to be case studies, because I think some of them are still really strong, but they're going to be interesting videos for sure. And while I was talking, that was a 40-second path fight. Okay, like this man is honestly pretty strong for these, and like it's crazy how he is. I feel like he is just manufactured to be good for these tech paths. Like he covers like any single note that you see in like an Act 8 tech path, he covers it. Like he is just good for it automatically, which is honestly impressive, because you know some tech characters are always missing one thing to be not so good for a tech path, but this man just really has it all, and it's honestly, yeah, really impressive stuff. And it makes me happy to see that Red Skull is just such a powerhouse of a tech champion. But yeah, here I go for the SP2, 23,000 medium attacks, you'll love to see it. And yeah, here I can just bait out the block, and like even a blocked hit does like 0 damage to us, and when it's a parry, it's a 0 damage parry as well. So that's another like nice thing about Red Skull that just adds to his safety. And yeah, now we have this final fight here, just a rage fight, and it's no big deal. He has DOT, he's gonna bypass it very easily, so this is a pretty much nothing burger of a fight. So we go for the parry, usual Red Skull rotation here, just dropping the SP2, dropping the SP1, simple as that. And I guess I can just talk about him a bit more here. Like the fact that he's a 7-star as well, it's just a thing of beauty. I think so. You know, the 7-star tech class, it's an interesting one, right? You have new additions like Omega Sentinel, you have the old gems like Shuri, but I'll be honest, okay, I might be like blanking on some tech characters right now, but I'll be honest, I think that I honestly think that he is the best tech champion in rank 3. Yeah, I'll just say it. I think he's the best one to do, because he can benefit a ton from the damage bump, like more than Guardian, for example, and his defensive value is just top tier. So it's like, I think it has to be him. I think he is the best tech champion to rank 3 right now. Could argue Arcade too, but you know, I think it has to be Red Skull, given that he is a much better attacker overall. But yeah, Red Skull, just a fantastic champion. Went from a meme to a must-have tech character. He's going to be talked about for ages now, and he is just a mainstay in any Battlegrounds deck. So we've covered Crossbones, we've covered Red Skull. There's just one left now, and it's the big guy himself. But that's for a different day, and that's a whole different can of worms to open. But let me know your thoughts on Red Skull, and yeah, that's about it for me.